1140. The Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross on Sactown Sports, 1140.
Domantas Sabonis. This for Earl. Domantas Sabonis last night. Players to post 26 or more points, 22 or more rebounds, 8 or more assists, and shoot 50% or more. The list of players to do that since 1978. Kareem, Charles Barkley, Chris Webber.
Hey, I know him.
Dirk Nowitzki.
Are you done?
Domantas Sabonis.
It's a good list to be on.
And you got to remember, he had a rough start to the year.
He did.
He's also being asked to do big man stuff on the other side of the floor as well. I like Fox is the one that stands out, and he should. But my goodness, what he's being asked to do on both ends. I think Domantas Sabonis is working harder than he's ever worked at any point in his career. By the way, that stat brought to you by Sactown Sports' insider on the Sacramento Kings, Frankie Cartoscelli.
Frankie!
Hey!
Good morning, fellas. Good morning. Always a nice morning after a win like that. How you guys doing?
Isn't it just better? Everything tastes better. It looks better. The birds are chirping. Your muscles, Frankie, are just probably bulging even more with all your. Frank, come on, Frankie's cut.
He's put together.
Yeah. I want muscles like that. I just don't want to do the work.
Oh, I used to work at a gym. You have to credit it to that. But when I was at that gym, I used to watch a lot of Kings losses, mind you. So maybe that was motivation. But
yeah, we read your stat, dude. I mean, it's not your stat; it's Sabonis' stat. But Domantas Sabonis was the early GOAT, I think, for a lot of this fan base for this team, and he's doing things.
Yeah, I mean, and he was somebody that was kind of looked at over that struggling 0-4 start, and he wasn't really performing the way that we've seen him do over even last year when he was playing pretty well. But it was the touch around the rim. That's what I'm noticing more than anything. He would kind of have those little half hooks kind of in the paint, and those are some shots that are starting to fall for him. And again, when you're playing a team last night in Golden State that doesn't really have a center that can even, I wouldn't say even be able to remotely match what Sabonis can bring on a nightly basis. I mean, Anthony Lamb, a guy who looked pretty lost down the stretch there. And I kind of was curious why they did not go back to Kevon Looney, someone who did play against Sabonis a couple of times already this season. And I mean, Sabonis had some big games against the Warriors the first few times, but they're nothing compared to last night because that was just monstrous. But seeing him kind of get going in the paint was nice because the Kings were able to feed him and kind of ride him last night.
And Frankie, defensively, I think was the biggest issue too for him early on. He was either one, getting in foul trouble, or two, just getting the paint. The Kings were getting killed in there. So they've obviously made some adjustments, and the oddity is the adjustments haven't been to play more big guys. They've played small and maintained with a rotation of maybe guys that aren't normally fives, but it's seemingly working. What do you think about that adjustment from Coach Brown and the coaching staff?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see a player like Rashawn Holmes is completely out of the rotation now. I think he's gotten DNP CDs for, I think this is his fourth straight game. So it's interesting. I mean, Tremezi Metchie's been someone that's also, I think, been a little surprising. He's been holding his own to paint more than I thought he would. I think he had a lot of criticism on his defense last year, but he has an athletic punch that he can bring. And Sabonis, like you said, he's staying out of foul trouble, which to me that's also a huge difference maker for the Kings. His numbers are pretty good. I mean, they've been decent this season, especially over the past 6-7 games, and the Kings are on this decent streak here. But his biggest problem is he isn't on the floor when the Kings need him most. And he fouled out a couple games there late, and it didn't hurt them against Miami a couple weeks ago. But having him last night play at the level he was at, imagine if he was in foul trouble. I don't know what would have been the final stat line, but it surely wouldn't have been 26, 22, and 8. So, availability, that's the best thing he can bring right now, and he's showing that he can stay out of foul trouble. He stayed straight up, which I know that's something they teach you in Parks and Rec basketball, but Sabonis, you can see him on those defensive possessions. He's not being as aggressive, and not in a bad way. He kind of was being a little too aggressive, and that's something that Mike Brown's kind of bringing to this team is defensive tenacity. But Sabonis is still kind of on that learning curve, and for right now, he's staying straight up, and he's staying out of foul trouble.
Frankie Cartoscelli with us. We talked about the fact that the only two losses this team's had in their last 8 is the two controversial calls, Golden State and Miami. What do you think about the philosophy that you'd rather have the wins, of course, but something about those losses, when we're talking about building culture in that locker room, might have given them a little bit of an us against the world vibe and has actually helped them since mentally?
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes the team, the fan base, I mean, everyone feel better that the fact that the Kings aren't, it isn't like the last year or even year before where they're coming out and losing these games by a wide margin. They were right there in that Golden State game. They were right there in that Miami game. And yeah, there's no more morale victories. We all can kind of agree on that. But the fact that they are competing in each basketball game that they're playing, that's something that I know just sounds kind of sad to say, but the fact that the Sacramento Kings are able to come out and compete on a nightly basis and not have to have those big losses or they fall down 20, even 30 early, it's huge. And just looking at their place in the standings right now, they have a positive net rating. It's by 0.1 points. Yeah. Mind you, it's the slimmest of margins, but the fact that they came through a very tough opening slate of games, and there are more to come, of course, but the fact that they came through that 12-game stretch, 500, and really, like you said, they had a chance to be, if they could at least gotten one of those games against Golden State or Miami, even one of those games, things are looking a lot better here. And I'm pretty content with the 6-6 start through 12. I'm not sure how the fan base views it. I'd imagine the majority of the fan base is pretty pleased to see their team 500 through that kind of stretch. But it hopefully is a sign of what's to come, just more competitive basketball.
Frankie, the last three in this win streak, it's been the way they finished. Cavs 10-3 run in LA Friday night, 8-0 run, and last night 12-2 to beat the Warriors. A lot of it has been De'Aaron as a closer. What are you seeing with him at the finish of these games?
It's just kind of he knows it's his job now, and that's something that Mike Brown said too. He did what he's supposed to do. He said that following the other night's game against the Lakers, he knows what he's supposed to do. I expect that out of him, and I think that's something that the Kings expect out of him too. And like you said, 5 of 6 down the closing stretch, 11 points. He even missed 2 free throws, which is very uncharacteristic for somebody like Fox, who's been shooting around 90% from the line over the past 2-3 weeks. He scored 11 points, like you said, single-handedly went on a 7-0 run, and that's huge to me. And his defense, even down the stretch, was pretty big. He had that huge shot on Steph Curry. Steph Curry had a pretty decent look in the corner on a triple that would have made it a 4-point game with about 2+ minutes left. And as we know, the Kings going down by more than one possession against a Warriors team that has had their number for the past 2 years, that's tough. And it wasn't all Fox single-handedly holding Steph Curry to just 6 points in the fourth, but the fact that the Kings and Fox were able to hold Curry as well, that speaks to the progress they're making. But Fox, he is playing like an all-star right now. It's going to come down to where the Kings are in the standings, but he knows his role, and he's Mr. Fourth Quarter right now.
Frankie Cartoscelli with us, and we can talk all day about Fox. We can talk the rest of the day about Sabonis. You know what, Jason? I don't even know that you and I have mentioned this yet. You could make an argument the story of the night last night was Keegan Murray. Mm-hmm. And not because he put up the craziest numbers, but his father had said publicly what Keegan had been dealing with personally. Maybe I'm just making this up because I love Disney movies, but you got to think maybe he felt some of that love last night because Kings fans just poured out their love to he and his family. Whatever it was, he really broke through last night.
Yeah, I mean, and that kind of speaks to the Kings fan base too, how knowledgeable and how caring they can be in a situation like that. And definitely, I think Keegan felt that. And in his post-game interview, he definitely was choked up talking about the support and the play he had for his grandmother, who he said was awake and conscious after a scary situation there in Charlotte. But he looked much more comfortable. Looked like he wasn't playing with much weight on his shoulders. And it showed up on the box score too. I mean, 5 of 9 from 3. That's pretty incredible for somebody who came into the night. 3 was his career high in 3-point field goals. And coming off curls, like you said, Jason, in the last segment, that's something that really has impressed me. Just seeing him, how comfortable he looks coming off those curls in those stagger screens. He is somebody that can definitely be a catch and shoot threat. Now, we have to see if he can develop off the dribble, but if he's doing what he can do, knocking down triples, and you see what Kevin Herter has done this season and what he did last night, the Kings are a very dangerous team. And you let De'Aaron Fox operate, Domantas Sabonis, both with 8 assists last night. They had their contributing pieces, the complementary pieces doing their jobs last night. And when Keegan Murray's locked in, this team is very dangerous. And that's something that's very fun to watch.
You can read Frankie on all the Sactown Sports sites, see him, videos, all kinds of stuff. Multimedia superstar is Frankie Cartoscelli. Appreciate you, brother. Hey, you know what? Listen, you're up, you're coming, you're growing. You're getting ready to take all our jobs, guys like you and Chris Watkins and the whole crew. And we appreciate it, man. Thanks for all your hard work.
I would never wish for that. I love working with you guys. Thanks for having me.
All right. Good luck. Take care. Bye-bye. That's Frankie. We're late for a break. Yeah or no?